Okay, hello. Going live. I was just sitting here meditating, and this line came through, and then I ended up writing this whole long thing. And I originally wrote it for the Neptune forum that I'm a part of on Facebook. But really, it applies to so many people right now. It's just about the nature of suffering and the truth about who we are. So I'm just going to read it. So this is the quote that came through. Beyond the boundary of the mind lies the infinite universe of the heart, waiting patiently for your return. Let's talk about love and Neptune. So whereas Venus in our chart represents three-dimensional love, the love of people, things, and experiences, Neptune, on the other hand, is a symbol of universal love or agape. The Venus type of love would be statements such as, I love this person, I love this dress, or I love to dance. Within these types of statements, there is inherent belief that this person, experience, or object is something different than I am. So it's assumed when we make these statements that this thing or person is something outside of ourselves, and we think that that thing or person is generating a feeling of love inside ourselves. When in reality, Neptune, or God, is reminding us to remember that we actually are the love that we are looking for. For example, if your Venus is in Virgo, you may think that the love you want resides in being really good at healing people, or being physically beautiful, or purifying the body. Those are all Virgo themes. Let's say your Venus is in Gemini, then you may think that the love you want resides in getting really good at computer skills, or knowing more facts about random things, or getting recognition from a crowd about a play that you wrote or a performance. If Venus is in Cancer, then you may want to get love by being super nurturing and by being the best mother or father that you can be, etc. So although there's nothing wrong with pursuing our desires and dreams, there's most often a mental element that is in the play that's convincing us that this achievement will somehow bring us ultimate happiness. So the issue with the Venus type of love arises in this assumption that what we want is not what we already are. So another way of saying it would be that who we are exactly as we are, whatever we're going through, is enough. That it isn't enough. So when we make this innocent yet completely normal assumption, it's something that is rampant in the collective mindset today, that we have to do something to get the love, that we have to go outside of ourselves and effort to get something that we think is missing inside. So in that efforting, then we have lost the connection with our true heart and who we really are. So the following of this mental assumption that we are separate causes us to sacrifice our inner alignment to ourself, which knows that it is complete as it is. And when we are connected with ourself, the movements we make come from truth, they come from love, they come from completion, and they have a completely different frequency than movement that comes from the mind and trying to get something. So perhaps then Venus and its endless superficial desires can be blamed for being the culprit who causes us to chase objects of desire as if they will finally bring us the love and happiness that we think we are missing. We all think that we are missing this love, and there's people are everywhere are looking outside themselves for this love. So we think that if we finally get the girl or the job or the car or the skill or the knowledge or finally have a child, then we will be filling this empty void inside of ourselves. We're simply and innocently looking to feel whole again. And this isn't actually anyone's fault. It's just what's called conditioning. It's a whole nother topic that I can write about, but it's basically from our childhood, from past lifetimes. So it's not that we are choosing to not feel whole. It is just this pattern that we're stuck in. So then Neptune comes in. Neptune, on the other hand, is a symbol of the higher octave of love. This kind of love is not about anything. It's the substance of existence. It is what this whole matrix is made of. And therefore, what we as characters are also made of. Every single thing in our existence, every thought, every word, every action, every perception, everything we think and we feel is actually arising from this one source of love. There's nothing separate from this source. And this is what Neptune is trying to teach us. This source is orchestrating the entire play. Whatever is happening in your movie is orchestrated by this one source, and you are not separate from that. It is who you are, and it's who you have been since the beginning of time. It is what you have been since when you were born. It is what is looking out of your eyes in every experience. Is the thing that never changes. And that who you are will never die. So this truth of you, of who you are, lives just beyond the boundary of the mind. When we have the courage to be still and to find out what lives beyond the boundary of the mind, in other words, what is in the silence that all the masters are pointing to, then we begin to discover the infinite and mysterious universe of the one heart that we actually are. So right now, in what we call the Kali Yuga, is when people on the planet are the most fearful and the most chaotic that we've ever been. There's more reaching and grabbing outside of ourselves to fill the void and distract ourselves from feeling everything inside. Then there's more of that than there's ever been. So it's really the most pivotal and crucial time to turn within, to begin to turn to the silence and the stillness within your heart. So right now, speaking about the ocean of love, so there's one source, and we can call it the ocean of love. And what we are is a phenomenal arising out of that ocean of the matrix is just these phenomenal blips out of the ocean that come up and go back down again. And it creates, and it's happening so quickly that it creates this illusion of this dream that we're in that feels so real because it's all happening so quickly. So in order to see it, we have to slow down. So because it's so ingrained and it's happening so quickly, we are just conditioned to believe that I am this independent person that's making decisions about my life. It seems logical to make that assumption, right? But this assumption is actually the source of all of our problems and all of our suffering. This ingrained idea that these are my thoughts, my body, my world is part of this phenomenal experience. So you can't actually stop it from happening. But it's been the major program running in the collective consciousness for thousands of years and thousands of our lifetimes. So the habit of letting our mind run the show has caused us to forget who we actually are. Living in the mind's limited perspective and prison of time and shoulds and responsibility and separation has actually sucked us dry and dampened our zest for life. It has stripped us of joy, passion, spontaneity, curiosity, and wildness. And it has taken away our complete trust in something bigger than ourselves that is actually orchestrating this whole dance. So even though Neptune is ultimately about love, a love, in fact, which is beyond anything the mind can imagine, and that is our true nature and is actually our birthright to return to, this planet Neptune can be a real powerhouse in delivering loads of suffering. So the reason Neptune can be so challenging is because it wants to wake us up. It wants us to go back to our true nature, to return to the purity of our own heart. And because of this, it will ask us to let go of every single idea we have about our life, who we are, and how we or life should be. It will strip away every notion and false belief that we actually have control over what we call our life. It will bring sickness, madness, drug use, poverty, and loss of identity. It will spin a web of confusion and chaos in our lives and push us to the edges of insanity, and sometimes all the way to suicide. It will drag us into this darkness so that we can begin to turn back towards the light. It will take us to the desperate place of wanting to know truth and being willing to find out the truth of who we are. So the thing that the mind will never understand, especially when we're going through a really rough transit, is that Neptune, aka God, drags us into the underworld out of this huge love for us. It takes an enormous force to turn this ingrained habit of mind back towards the heart, especially in the times we're living in, when everything in the Maya is trying to grab our attention and keep us living in the outside world. So the force that it takes to turn us within is what Neptune represents. It must destroy us to get us to finally say, wait a minute, there must be something else going on. This can't be it. So when everything in your life falls apart, when your health goes to shit, you've lost your partner, your job, maybe you're on the streets with nothing, no home, and then, you finally get to this point where you surrender. You say, all right, I give up. Maybe I am not the one doing this. So in that surrender and the willingness to let go and open, the love will come in and begin to break our hearts, and it will hurt and it will cause pain, but it's breaking our hearts open again, back to our original, the way that we're meant to be, which is wide open and experiencing life with joy and happiness and just taking everything in equally as it is. No judgments, no resistance, just allowing. So rough Neptune transit can actually be the spark to the hero's journey within, which is the greatest journey that we can take as human beings. And truly, it's the only thing that matters. This adventure takes everything that you have, but ultimately it delivers us home, back to the wholeness that we are, back to the truth of our eternal existence, that we can never die. Only this body-mind will die. Who we are is going to continue on. So this bountiful, joyful beingness that we are, and a deep trust in life that comes with it, is what Neptune ultimately wants to deliver us. However, to get there, as I was saying, it takes everything. We must forget everything we thought we knew, literally everything. We have to let go of every idea of who we think we are, what we think life is about, everything of knowledge that we've learned in school or books that we've read. We just have to stop and go into the stillness. So, and just learning to let go, receiving what is, no matter what it is will open the heart. So we must feel everything that we've suppressed from childhood and the past lifetimes, and we must ultimately be willing to die. But it's not the kind of death that our mind thinks. It's actually dying to the control of the mind, or believing that we are our mind. So in the humble willingness to just let go the gates of heaven will open. So if you're deeply suffering and looking to your chart to see what the transits are, what transits are going on, and when it will end, trust me, I've been there. I just want to offer that rather than resisting, try to stop. Take a deep breath and just tune in to the whisper, the current that's in your heart, that's below all the suffering. And it's saying something, this is kind of something that it would speak to me, is to slow down, sweet child. Just stop running. There is something so much more beautiful waiting for you if you can just let go and turn towards the stillness of your heart. This whole dream and every single thing that's happening is created for you. There are no mistakes. So the only thing that the dream is designed to do is to point you back to yourself. And this self lies in the stillness, in the silence. The mind will never be able to deliver the true happiness. The only power of the mind is to keep us stuck in the illusion of separation. The mind's job is to create problems, to get distracted in the past or the future, which don't actually exist, and to keep us out of this now moment. The now moment is what holds the key and the doorway to truth. The now moment can bring you back to the wider perspective of being able to feel not only yourself and what's going on in your body mind, but to relax the gaze into the feeling that is everywhere. The feeling that is everywhere and has been with you since day one. So just to begin to investigate that. So Neptune and all its possible suffering that it brings is actually giving you the perfect recipe to turn within. So trust that. Trust in something you may not be able to feel yet. Trust that you deserve love. So I guess I just recommend that instead of complaining or continuing to think that something is wrong, just to pray with all your heart to be graced with eyes to see the truth. And just continue this prayer and this willingness to be humbled by life. And then wait and watch how love will come to your assistance. And it will bring you just what you need in just the right moments. It will bring you the people, the information, the direction that you need to guide yourself back home. And then one more thing, rather than trying to figure out and resist what's happening, perhaps these questions can be more assistant to you. How can I surrender more to what's happening? How can I love myself exactly where I am? And is there any ounce in me that trusts something greater than myself? If not, how can I turn my life towards the goal of finding that which I can trust in that's bigger than this body-mind? So that's it. I just wanted to get that off my chest, get it out there, and then share it with people, and then continue on with my meditation. So, thank you for joining me.